Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I'm Pastor Joe Fox. I am not a financial guru by any means. I am not a trends forecaster to any large degree. I do think I can see things coming, but not like, what's that guy's name? Gerald Celente or something like that. Nothing like that. So that being said, right, something popped up. I was watching a movie yesterday called The Big Short, I think is what it was called. It was actually a pretty decent movie about the housing crisis, the '08 boom, and kind of like key players that were seeing it coming and kind of shorted it and made $1 bazillion. It's interesting. I don't know enough about finances and about the real going on of that situation to be able to tell you if the movie was accurate or not, but it had a feel to it that it probably was fairly accurate. But one of the guys who was like portrayed as this like weird genius guy, brilliant but awkward. But he sees this thing coming, and so, against much adversity and everything, he shorts it, and then, he wins in the end. It said at the very end of the movie, what he's doing right now is he's only doing personal investing or something, and it's in water. Water. That made me flash back in my head. That's cool, that's a hawk up there just crying and doing that. Sorry. Whoop. That made me flash back in my head though. Bush the second, right? I read an article that he bought like something like, you can fact check me on this, 98,000 acres in Paraguay right after he retired as president. And it's like 98,000 acres, man, that's a lot even for a Texas guy. Why? And so I started doing some research on that. What's in Paraguay? I mean, because these guys who get into power, they're not stupid. Evidently, it's sitting on one of the largest freshwater aquifers in the world, this 98,000. I live out in the boonies. I mean, this is boonies out here. It's kind of backwards. It's kind of like a third world country in a lot of ways. And I've had a few wells drilled on our property. And it's a law here, probably everywhere, that when they drill a well, they do a GPS coordinate of it, and then they have to report that to the county. And it's like a 10-digit coordinate. Here's the well. And so then there's a record of it. Hierarchy, the rule of threes, right? You can live 3 minutes without air. You can live 3 hours in a bad weather condition without shelter. You can live 3 days without water. I think the elites, are working a plan to control the water and thus control the populace. Start thinking about that. What's your water plan? Long-term water plan? You can't store enough water. What's your long-term water plan? If you've already taken care of the basics. So put that over here, because water. I want to talk to you about two things, because that was short. Think about water. Think about long-term water. Think about long-term water when they come and take your well. The other thing is this, looking at Venezuela melting down. Venezuela, kind of a third world country. That's politically incorrect to use that term anymore. Developing nation. They're kind of a third world country. But they have very modern things going on in Venezuela. And the country's just melting down, right? And so we can look at it from the outside looking in with a bag of fresh Doritos and a nice cold beverage, watching it, reading about it, going, that sucks to be them. And kind of see things that maybe, if we're smart, we can learn some lessons from their misery experiences and then apply them to our own lives, so that if something like that happens, we're a step ahead. And so to that end, right now you see people killing each other, fighting, not over gold, not over ammo, not over guns. Now, yes, they're doing it with guns and ammo and knives and sticks, over food. There aren't people out there trading precious metals for anything. Nobody is giving up their cans of beans for a gold doubloon. Bartering and having precious metals is all well and good once your bases are covered. If you don't have an adequate supply of food, what's adequate? I don't know. You tell me. What's adequate? It's more than 3 days. If you don't have an adequate supply of food, you really have no business buying a whole lot of anything else. Yes, you need a gun and some ammo and da-da-da-da-da, but you know, as far as like investing heavily in silver or gold or this or that, or barter materials, you got to have food. People aren't going to be giving you food. They're not going to be trading you for food. Have your food now. Food's so cheap. Wheat is so cheap right now. They've got it laying out in parking lots drying out in the Midwest right now because there's no more room in the mill. Buy wheat. Buy food. Look at Venezuela. Look at the total breakdown of society. You know, news is news. You only get what they want you to get, number one. You only get what they go and get themselves, which is number two. Then they further filter that, right? I wonder what's going on in the countryside of Venezuela. You know, where they've got their little patches of potatoes and stuff. I'm willing to bet life's pretty much going on as normal. They're probably out of kerosene. You know, they don't get to light their lamps at night. Propane's probably short to gone, so now they're having to cook over fire. But I bet you, started out with water. I bet you they're going to the same well and pulling up buckets of water, and they still have chickens running around, and you know, I bet you life hasn't changed a whole lot. What would you do if society melted down? What's a grocery store having it 3 days worth of food on a normal day? And if something happens and all the people run to the grocery store, about 3 hours worth of food, 3 minutes worth of food. What's your plan? All right. See you out there.